the MNAC, the Museum of National Art of Catalonia, which will be hosting our awards show on Sunday night. But which one of those two riders will be adding their name to the Tower of Champions? It's Jack Appleyard and Simon Crafar here for one final time to preview this. The title decider, the Solidarity Grand Prix of Barcelona. Si, 24 points in it. Seems a simple question at this stage because we've been putting it to all the riders today. Who's the favourite? Who's the man that you think is going to win the World Championship? It's, of course, all in Jorge's favour. It's his to lose. Do you think he's going to be able to handle the pressure and get it over the line?
I do. I really do. The thing is, you can argue for both riders. Pecco's won more Grand Prix. Jorge is, I think, arguably been the fastest. He's convinced me he's the fastest. But they've both made mistakes, which has swung the favour of the championship in the other's hands repeatedly, and it could happen again. You know, there's absolutely, I mean, Pecco will be hoping Jorge crashes out of the sprint and he wins it, you know, and then for us as fans, that would be super exciting. But both of them deserve it. Right now, Jorge should win it, you know, on past form. They've both been really close. Jorge should do it from here, but it's so unpredictable, isn't it? You know, really, really is.
And what a story it is if Jorge Martin is the man to get it over the line. Twice rejected by Ducati. He's leaving at the end of the weekend. He's going to be on an Aprilia on Tuesday, potentially with a #1 plate on the front of it. I mean, how have we got to this stage and how much growth have we seen within Jorge that he's on the brink of a Premier Class World Championship?
I don't think this normally happens, you know, a rider is as good as Jorge and gets snubbed by the factory.
Well, the last time it happened was Valentino Rossi when he moved from Honda to Yamaha, but famously, of course, that was Valentino's decision.
Exactly, it was his choice. And yeah, famously why, we won't go into that one. I think it, again, Mark, you know, obviously had a big part to play in this, and Mark does. He has a big part to play in every weekend normally. I think you will hear again. It'll be Mark, and look, it's not one of Mark's favourites. Sorry to swing it over, but Mark has a big part to play in Jorge not getting the factory ride. And I think he'll have a part to play this weekend. It wasn't a favourite of his at Kuala Lumpur, but he was in the mix. Yeah. And I think the same, I expect the same here. It's not a favourite of his, but I believe he'll be in the mix. Look, you know, he's usually there. And I think the other one is, sorry to jump ahead of what we're talking about, but Aleix Espargaro. I mean, he's obviously a huge fan of this young man, as we all are, but he's firmly in Jorge's, you know, side of the court, and he's famously good around here with the Aprilia, so he could have a part to play as well.
We're seeing some of the key moments in the World Championship fight so far, whether it be that crash out of the lead at Jerez. This, of course, coming with just 2 laps to go at the German Grand Prix. The mistake he made being the only one pulling in when the rain started to fall in San Marino.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Every time Martin has bounced back, we've spoken about it at length. The team have as well. Gino Borsoi was so confident and so strong at the start of the year, telling us all that this is a new Jorge Martin this year. He's learned from the mistakes of last year, and when these crashes were happening, we were questioning it, we were doubting it, but at this stage of the season, we have to say that the mental strength that we've seen from Jorge is light years ahead of this time last year.
Well put, because I feel exactly that, like you just described it, and that's why he should get it across the line. But there's huge pressure on him this weekend, and we've seen how easy it is to make a mistake. Hugely easy. Like we saw at this circuit, riders make mistakes while leading and crash out of the lead, going in slower than they thought. And actually Jorge explained that. It was quite interesting in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. He explained that the engine brake setup is so important, because if you don't get it to slide, to drift into the corners correctly, if it comes back into line, overloads the front, and down he went. He said that's what happened at Jerez, happened multiple times. They work on that, getting that engine brake right, and will they, you know? So there's so many parts to play in getting it across the line.
What a battle this was last time out. Arguably one of the best toe-to-toes we've seen in the modern MotoGP era. But there's no point getting away from it. This man here, and this, of course, one of the key moments of this World Championship fight right here at Barcelona, crashing out on the final lap of the sprint whilst leading. How different would this weekend be with those extra 12 points in his bag? But it's all ifs, buts and maybes.
Both Pecco in this crash here and Brad Binder just before this crash did exactly the same thing, said they both went in slower without the rear stepped out and the front pushed, and then down they went. So they actually went in a little bit slower and crashed out. It shows how easy it is to do.
It's going to be easy this weekend as well, just given the conditions, given the nature of the circuit, given everything that's up for grabs. Just talk us through how different this weekend may well be to the last time we were here in June.
Well, first of all, losing tyre temperature, first thing that comes to mind. By the time you leave the garage with that high tyre temp, by the time you get into the first corner with that cool air, you've already lost a lot of tyre temperature, especially on the left-hand side before you get to that left-hander that we saw the crashes at. That left-hander is going to be more risky than it was in summer.
There's no point getting away from it. The man that, of course, was victorious here when we were here earlier in the year, Pecco Bagnaia, he needs help. Is he going to get some this weekend? Can you see riders being able to get in between both him and Jorge, riders being able to take points away from Martin?
I think it's mainly the two that I've already mentioned. Aleix, because he's good around here, maybe. Marquez, but the other one I would like to throw in there, I mean, Brad Binder was leading the sprint around here before he fell off. He was good, but I have big hopes on young Pedro because he was fast before he crashed out, like he did, and they've improved the bike for him since then, and he did something amazing I keep bringing up in Indonesia. Can he do it here as well?
Interesting. I was speaking with Pecco earlier on. He reiterated it after the Malaysian Grand Prix, saying that coming to the final round, I don't want to play any games. I'm not that type of rider with regards to potentially getting at the front, slowing the pace down, allowing other riders to get involved and help his chances as much as possible. Obviously, morally, fantastic, but morals aren't going to win you a world championship. Do you agree with him not wanting to try and use every possibility to win this world championship?
Look, all I can say to that is that it's a bigger risk. He needs to go out and win. I think he needs to just do that and focus on it. As soon as you start to play games, you put yourself at more risk. Like I said, going in slower, they fell off. Also, you get tangled up with other riders. I believe the best thing he can do is run for it, keep his nose clean, try to win, and hope something else happens.
There's a lot of debate on throughout the media, on social media. I've seen, obviously, Pecco's DNFs this year, in particular on a Saturday, are the reason that he finds himself 24 points adrift at this stage. In particular, Davide Tardozzi on Sunday saying that the crashes on throughout the racing are what are hurting us the most. But he also said, when you look at the crash statistics, that we very, very rarely see Pecco crashing on a Friday in qualifying. It's always in these big moments that these mistakes come. Is there an argument to be had that maybe Pecco could ride slightly differently throughout the practice sessions to get a better understanding of where the limit is, so that doesn't happen as frequently as it has done? Because we have seen Jorge crashing out on a Friday. Is that just a theory that has no sense to it whatsoever, or is there something there?
I'll be honest, I hadn't thought of it like that, but it fits with what I see of Pecco, and that is he comes out on Friday traditionally slower than, it's not just because he chooses to use the same set of tyres and get the info and look slower, but the more the days go on, the faster he gets, and maybe that is not pushing the limit early enough, and is basically goes along with what you're saying. Yeah, it's a possibility.
Certainly going to be interesting at the front, because you've got to look at the dynamics within the paddock as well. We've mentioned a couple of names there, Aleix Espargaro in particular, who I'm sure with so much on the line for him this weekend, given the fact it's his final Grand Prix ever at the circuit where he grew up just 5 minutes down the road from. But if he is in the mix, he's going to be helping out his good friend Jorge Martin.
I can't see that he wouldn't. I mean, they are close friends. It almost looks like father, son, or uncle, nephew. I can't see that he wouldn't try his very best this weekend. Me in the same position, I would, because it's the most important moment possibly in your friend's career, maybe lifetime, most, sporting wise. Wow. So yeah, I would expect Aleix to do his best if he's in the position to.
And despite Ducati potentially wanting some assistance to come from Enea Bastianini, if he's in that position on Sunday, he's going to be on a KTM on Tuesday. So I cannot in a million years see an eventuality where he moves over to one side and allows Pecco through to gain some extra points.
I think you've answered it. And so is Enea. He's answered it more than once. He's just racing for himself. And I believe that Ducati haven't asked him to help. Who knows? I really don't know what's going to happen, but that's what makes it exciting. Certainly
interesting to have the Grand Prix here, given the data that everyone has had. In Malaysia, we saw there was a huge gulf between the GP24s and everybody else. But here I get a real sense that things are going to be quite a bit closer.
That's a good point, because I believe what fits with what you're saying is the higher grip level the circuit, the more the GP24 can show its strengths. And when it's a lower grip track, yes, the Ducatis are damn good, but so has the Aprilia been. The KTM's not been bad at all. So I think that's why I say Aleix, for example, Pedro or Brad Binder and Marc Marquez, they could be in the fight. Yes, closer even than the last races.
Plenty still on the line with regards to third and fourth in the World Championship. Marc Marquez and Enea Bastianini only split by a couple of points there. Who will get the bronze medal and will be at the gala on Sunday night? And although I put it to both Brad Binder and Pedro Acosta about being best of the rest and getting that top 5 finish, both of them saying they didn't particularly like being the best non-Ducati. That's not what they're here to do. But I'm sure between the pair of them, given the fact they're going to be teammates next year, there's some bragging rights there.
Yeah.
They don't want the other one to finish ahead of them.
That's dead right. I mean, I've explained with you before and with Brad in the commentary box that your teammate is the first most important person to beat, because you are on exactly the same machinery, and in that garage environment you want to be the number one. I just have to step back a moment and explain why I said about the low grip situations where it closes things up a little bit more, because for those of you who don't know, this circuit is famously low grip.
Arguably the lowest of anywhere we go.
Yeah, I think they've done an amazing job of the surface. It's not bumpy or whatever, but it gets used a lot, and it's a little bit less aggressive and a little bit lower grip. It's kind of at the point maybe where it needs another surface, or I don't know, but it's a low grip track, and that will close things up.
It's certainly going to be interesting, as we see in the press conference room right now. The man of the hour has just arrived. There he is, Jorge Martin, number 89 at the moment. Will it be a number 1 on that brand new Aprilia come Tuesday? There's so much to get excited about come 2025. That all kicks off, a reminder, on Tuesday, where we'll all be here, myself, Simon, Matt Burt, Lewis Sotheby, Jack Gorst, Elliot York, the full outing, getting the very latest on what is going to be a busy day. I think it's 12 riders, moving teams on manufacturers, a lot for us to get stuck into, but our focus, of course, is on this weekend and who will be crowned world champion. There are so many permutations, but the simple one is, when it comes to the Tissot Sprint on Saturday, if Martin wins, as we know, he is very, very able to do so, then that will be it. The World Championship, for the first time in the Spaniard's career, will be his. Can Bagnaia do anything about it? He said he's going to try tow along some mates on Saturday morning to get them as high up on the grid as possible to get in on the act. Will that work? He certainly needs some friends out there who are going to come to his aid. So interesting, this final round of the year, the Motul Solidarity Grand Prix of Barcelona. And we can now head over for the final time this year to the press conference with our 2 title contenders. The world champion, but for how much longer? Pecco Bagnaia, and Prima Pramac Racing's Jorge Martin.